Ball was our life. Once you got up in the morning, if it wasn't school, you playing ball 8, 9 o'clock in the morning at the parks. This was our way of relieving of the everyday struggles that we encountered, but not only that, this was our way of saying, man, I got to get out the ghetto. Sports was the ticket. It was no doubt sports was our ticket.
Named after a former slave and minister, listed as a second school for African Americans. In the 3rd Ward of Houston, George Floyd was a two-sport athlete at Jack Yates High School. At 6'4" and wearing number 88, he was a giant on the field.
You talking about a raw specimen, man, stardom was written on it. He had the killer instinct to know how to get the job done for you, but he dominated at his own will, at his own pace, and his own accord, and it was seen.
And has become an even bigger figure off it. Houston's 3rd Ward community folks gathered to paint a Black Lives Matter mural in George Floyd's honor. His image will stand now in front of his old high school.
Celebrate the memory and the life of George Floyd, the history of Jack Yates. George Floyd!
This is what he would have loved to see. And he loved 3rd Ward. I mean, he was raised and groomed and bred here.
It's very inspiring. This has got to be one of the greatest things that I have ever seen. Throughout the murals and, the changes, and I mean, the Black Lives Matter, all of that is awesome. And but this right here is where he was raised.
Family, friends, and past teammates attended the ceremony, each eager to tell stories of George and the impact he had on so many.
My brother was a wonderful man. From a child on up, he was awesome.
Everybody talks about the sports. Everybody talks about how good he was in basketball and football, and that's true. He was 3rd Ward. He was a pillar in the 3rd Ward.
I knew Floyd, as an athlete, as a student athlete, as an individual. He was just this big, tall guy, friendly, humble, give you his shirt off his back, split his food with you, split his money with you. If you didn't have and he had, it was yours as well. Just a simple guy, from the projects here in 3rd Ward. He woke up the nation.
Afternoon, got him open as he gets a turn for Dickerson, touchdown, Yates.
Vaughn Dickerson is George's former teammate and lifelong friend. They grew up together in the Chuney Home projects of 3rd Ward.
We were together every day after school, hanging out, eating, everything. So it was like a blood brother from a different mother. You had to be tough, just like in the inner city, a neighborhood, in the ghetto.
But for Floyd and many others, there was one way to escape the struggle, one way out of poverty: sports.
Sports was like the church. It was a rest haven. Sports was our way to say, man, I can make it out the ghetto. I can be able to help my mom and dad and my siblings get out the ghetto, my homeboys. That was the ticket. Football and basketball was our ticket out.
George looked to punch that ticket at Jack Yates, where he became a standout two-sport star, excelling in both basketball and as a starting tight end in football.
He started tight end for 3 years with us, but in basketball, you talking about a raw specimen, dunking the ball in 8th grade, man, stardom was written on him.
Following his graduation from Jack Yates, George accepted a scholarship to South Florida University, where he played Division I basketball. He broke his foot early in his freshman year, but came back and had a strong sophomore season, averaging 14 points and 8 rebounds a game. Though revered for sports in the 3rd Ward, it was his character and selflessness that people seem to remember the most.
Perry he was caring. Like I said, a jokester, always smiling. If you're down, he the one who pick you up. But he was a caring dude, man. He wanted to see everybody win. He was gentle. He was a gentle giant. And that's crazy coming up in 3rd Ward. To know him was to love him. And as kids, like I said, you never visualize that something like this would happen to him. And for him to be all over the world and poster boards, I'll be riding, I'll be looking at the mural, And I catch myself talking up to him, and a couple of times I caught myself crying.
Floyd's murder inspired a worldwide movement for change. His spirit is immortalized with pictures and murals around the world.
Say his name, George Perry Floyd.